Hey, what's up? I'm Risky, and this is Kunai. Kunai is an indie Metroidvania that came out earlier this year, and a lot of love went into this from the dev, you can really tell, with a lot of the small details. You are Tabby, and Tabby is a tablet ninja that is trying to save the world, pretty much, without getting too much into the plot or spoiling anything. There's a lot of focus on fluid movement in this game and just cool mechanics. Here we pick up the katana. The katana is going to be our main source of damage throughout the run. We'll be getting some sub-weapons later on that are a bit better than the katana in a lot of situations, but for most of the game we'll be using the katana. You can pogo off enemies with it, and if you jump right as you slash, you don't really lose momentum as you do it, and we'll be trying to do that as much as we can. The early segments here are pretty much walking and trying to optimize a lot of the small parts of the movement, like pogoing off that trash can so we don't get a fall animation, and jumping across this bomb guy, and coming up here we do another pogo off one of these robots so we land on this platform, that kind of thing. The early game for about 2 minutes is this, and then we get pretty much the best movement ability in the game. It's so fun. You'll see when we get it. Most of these enemies die in one hit early game, but later on, that is definitely not the case. So it's the first area done. We're gonna enter Haunted Factory now, and try and jump into this cutscene. We didn't get it there, but we can get a little extra distance if you jump. And we're gonna destroy these boxes on our way, and a good benchmark to see if you're going fast is if on your way back those boxes aren't there, as they have about a 20-second respawn timer. So here we've gotten our first kunai, and as you can see, we are moving way faster already. We're gonna get another one right here. So now we have a kunai that goes to the left and the right, and think of it pretty much like a grappling hook, and you hold it down, it'll drag you to it slowly, and you can swing off the ceiling like this, and that's going to be what most of the movement is based around in the game. And right there is what's called a reverse kunai boost, and what that is, it's when you're swinging under a ceiling and then you do a kunai in the opposite direction, like on the ceiling under you for like a couple frames, you'll get a huge vertical boost. I'll try and point that out more as we do them, but this is the first boss, this garbage collector. Very simple boss. You just go up here and you spam down slash, so you hit him on his first frame that he's vulnerable. Like right now we can't attack him. And then he spawns enemies, and rinse and repeat 3 times, and the boss is dead. We're going to pick up the money off the enemies. Money in this category isn't very tight or anything like that, but there's no reason not to grab it while we have the chance. The boss gives you a few seconds to actually kill them and pick it up. So this white flash animation would be on the screen if we weren't pogoing the boss right there. And so it actually gives us more time to react to the money dropping, because money dropping off enemies is random, but when it drops out of a chest you can kind of manipulate it. And we're done in this area now. There was a door sealing us off here before, and we just had to kill the boss to get rid of it. Here we go up to the ceiling and go across, and we're heading to the forest now. A lot of the rooms here are just trying to do small movement strats correctly, and we are not really doing them correctly right now, but that's okay. This right here is Earl, and that's a router. The routers are places you can buy upgrades. We're going to be buying an upgrade way later on in the game, but other than that, we don't really touch it. And this pogo right here is nearly frame perfect. Got a second try, it's fine with me. You're going to see all these vines hanging off the ceiling and stuff, and they actually stop your momentum when you jump into them. They slow you down a lot, and you can jump in midair while you're on them. But if you're swinging with your kunai, you'll go right through them without losing any speed. So we try to do that as much as we can, and we do use them for jumps and stuff, like right here. We'll jump up and then pogo it, and try and smooth through this room. So if you briefly kunai as you're falling, you'll prevent the fall animation that you normally get when you fall a long height. This place is called Disconnected Woods. It's pretty much a maze, and you can't really tell which way to go, but we speedrun it, so obviously we know. And now we have the map. And the map isn't actually necessary for us in the run, because we know where we're going. Right there was a reverse kunai boost again. But we do need to do that to actually trigger opening up this area right here. And just like that, we're already done with the forest. Now we're in the resistance camp, and this is like the good guys. These are the people fighting against the bad robots. And the resistance camp gets attacked by an airship, which we are now on. And we're gonna try and just go to the captain and bring the ship down. This is an auto-scroller. There's not much to do here except for collect money from the enemies we kill. Also try and slash on beat with the music. Alright, now the auto-scrolling section has ended. Skip this cutscene real quick, and we're going to save right here because we're actually going to save quit back to this save point multiple times. And that electricity below us will hurt us if we land on it, so we don't want to do that. And here's the first lever that we need to do. This cutscene would show us what hitting this lever opens. It opens a door in a previous room, but we obviously know exactly which one it opens, so we're just going to save quit here and continue to the next area. We're actually going to go through that exact room 3 times, but we can kunai off of the checkered ceiling, but not off the other, the blue ceiling there. The kunai will just clank off. And then we up slash those boxes so we don't lose any speed while we're slashing. And right here, this is box skip. So we destroy one box and then destroy the other one so that one falls in a specific place. And it allows us to jump up and actually get onto this platform that we normally can't. And this skips like four rooms or so. And then we grab this chest because we are going to need that money for later on. We grab like 3 or 4 really efficient chunks of money. Here's another reverse boost, so we go straight up. And now we hit this lever, and we save quit back to the save point again. And we can just head to the final rooms of the airship now. The save quit here saves like probably 20 or 30 seconds of backtracking, which is quite nice. Right under this bomb dude, and now we have some more auto-scroller rooms. There's not much to talk about here. We just kill the enemies we can and pick up whatever free money we can along the way. Our health doesn't really matter in this area either, since this is actually the last room. We'd have to take a lot of hits to actually die before we get to where we need to go. Just go past these guys and then jump into this cutscene. And the boss of this area dies in one hit. That's the captain. So now we're in the desert. And the desert has a lot of very fun movement. Right now we're going to go to the resistance camp that's in the desert. Skip this elevator cutscene. And swing up here, and this gentleman is going to give us a double jump. Very classic Metroidvania upgrade, of course. And we save quit back to the start of the desert. And now we can start schmoving a bit more. Jump over these dudes that come out of the ground because we don't want to mess with them. And let's see if we can get a reverse boost here. We do. Let's just go straight up. This is some of the more difficult movement of the run. Right here, this room is very tough to get, and we nailed it there, and that feels great. For the Kunai swings, you want to try and get as far of a swing as you can to get the most boost, and also release it when you're at about the 6 o'clock position, a little bit past it. And then we try to do a reverse boost when we hit the spikes. That one's pretty tough to get. Alright, and then we swing up to the ceiling here, and we just go all the way across this room. And we're heading to Shuriken Shrine now. And in Shuriken Shrine, we will be getting an upgrade that is called Shuriken. Very nice. And now the Shuriken lets us activate these puzzle switches right here. This is a tiny little skip. You can do that out of order. Saves like a second maybe. But flipping the switches opens blocks or gates depending on what you're hitting. They're just necessary to progress in a lot of areas. They also stun enemies that allows you to just walk right through them. So here, you're supposed to wait for the ceiling to get rid of the metal, but we can just jump across, and if you saw, we jumped right off those spikes without taking damage. And that is called a spike jump. Very creative name. And if you buffer a jump right before you're going to land on a hazard, it just lets you jump off of it instead, without taking damage. It's not a necessary tech, but it's definitely helpful. So now in this area, we're going to be going to hit 3 different levers in different orders. And also, we're doing something called Shuriken Jumps, which I'll explain in a bit. But, well, I just explained them now. A Shuriken Jump is you just throw a Shuriken down and you pogo off it with your sword, and it gives you a boost upwards. So we saved at that save point so we could save quit after each of these levers, as it saves a good amount of time. Now that we hit that first lever, instead of going up in this room, we're going to go across. And we'll be really careful. If that block hits you while it's moving up, it can actually kill you instantly. So there we got a spike jump again. And we're going to try and go for an early cycle on this room by hitting that switch. And we got it. There's an automatic shuriken thing there that you're supposed to wait for normally, but you can speed up the process a little bit. Now we're going to go back this way, since that lever opened up this door. That's the last lever we have to hit in this area. In the glitch category, you can actually just clip through basically this whole area and not have to hit any of the levers. Luckily we didn't die to the moving block that time. And now we're going to go to the left. This is actually the final lever that we're going to hit. And it opens that door, which leads to the end of this area. And then we missed the early cycle, but it's not as bad this time because we're going up instead of to the left, so that block actually isn't in our way. Cover that to prevent the fall, and we don't need to save, our life isn't that low. And now we're going to fight Guardian. This is the second boss. I don't really count the captain of the airship as an actual boss, since he dies in one hit, but... So for this one, you can see the switches coming out of the wall here. So we have to hit one switch on the bottom, which moves the block up top, and then you hit the other switch, the Shuriken, and it shocks the boss. So we swing across, and then we throw one down, we can actually do it a lot quicker. We pretty much ignore like all of the mechanics of the first part of the fight by doing it this way. Now once you shock him 3 times, slams down, the ground gets destroyed, and this part is very simple. You just pogo off the boss, and then hit him 5 times. And there we go. Try to jump here to get all the money that comes out of the boss when it dies. And then we have to wait for this pillar to rise. You saw we talked to the chief there. The chief is kind of just like cutscenes that happen. He's like the chief of the resistance and tries to tell us what to do. Not actually that helpful. We kind of just ignore everything he says. And now we can leave. And this is where the first sequence break in the run happens. So we're going to be going to an area called Crypto Mines. And we're going to be going across a very large gap that you're not supposed to be able to get across yet. But using Shuriken Jumps, we can get across it. Just like that. This area is pretty movement intense. We actually died in our PB in the last segment, so that's why we saved such a ridiculous amount of time. I really enjoy the movement in this part. There's a lot of awesome swings. Here we do a small skip using the Shuriken Jumps as well. Swing up and over, swing up again. Yeah, another sweet skip using them. Here we go, trying not to get hit by the lava, but we do, unfortunately. The area after this, like this whole segment from the boss onwards, our health is really important because we're going to have this amount of health for a long time. And now for one of the best areas in the game, Zen Mountains. The music in this place is just stellar. The music in this game is amazing in general, but we're gonna take a safety save here because if we get hit by almost anything in this area coming up, we would just die, so. So here we're gonna actually mess it up. We're going to do a jump and then some pogos over here. And most of this area is about climbing a mountain. Like, it's as simple as that. It's Zen Mountain, but There's a lot of upward movement, and you can do this place so quickly if you do it right. You'll lose so much time if you don't. So this next segment, there's so many different ways you can do it because we're traveling up this place and there are a ton of platforms in this room. You can see we're kind of slopping a little bit, but that was okay. And now these dudes with those 3 rockets, those are some of those dangerous enemies in the game. You can see it chunked us with one of those rockets. If we swing into them the wrong way, we'll just die instantly. All 3 rockets will hit us. So there's another one here we want to avoid, which we do avoid. Swing up and over. Don't need that save point. Now just pure zen, the music has stopped. But this is my least favorite part of the game by far. It's the only part I didn't like casually, actually, but that's okay. This is Sensei. This is the boss of this area. And Sensei is this big spirit that's me trying to skip a dialogue way too early there. And the premise of this boss is it knocks you off the mountain multiple times. You have to climb back up. And each time, the boss slams into the mountain and gets rid of some of the terrain that you'd be able to grapple to. And also goes faster with each phase as well. So we're going to wait out for the boss to hit this so that it doesn't hit the terrain right there, because we're going to need that on the next time we go up. Each time the terrain gets destroyed, when it turns to metal, you're not able to grapple to it. If you were already grappled to it, you'll maintain your grapple, which we actually did there for a second. See, now this terrain is there for us. You can see how much faster the boss is actually hitting the wall now. And that was a reasonable first phase of Sensei. So now this was the bane of me casually. Like, this phase destroyed me. And if you die here, you have to do the whole first part again. But it's an auto-scroller going up, and you can't see what's above you. Like, the camera is locked to a certain speed. Obviously, it's an auto-scroller, so yeah, that's what happens. If you touch any of the missiles below you, you die instantly. So if you happen to bump your head or like jump wrong, then it's really easy to die in this part. It's not too tough in the speedrun, but yeah, we're just gonna go up, and once you see that metal part right there, you know you're almost done, and here you go. We hit Sensei. We lost a bit of time in that segment, but that's whatever. We messed a whole lot of strats up. And now we have the rocket launcher. Rocket launcher it's amazing. It one-shots almost everything. Like right here, we're going to one-shot the samurai dude. And we're going to be using the rocket launcher quite a bit against enemies. Right there is a glitch that sometimes enemies just die when you enter a screen. I haven't quite figured that one out. I think it's from killing the enemy in the last screen. Now that we have the rocket launcher, we can destroy boulders. And we also can use it to get a small boost backwards. There's nothing for us to grab onto with our kunai up top right now. And now we're going to drop, and ideally avoid any falling animations, but it'll happen. Boom, destroy that rock. When you kill enemies in this game with your sword, you get health back. So that can be a pretty useful strategy if you're running really low in the run. We want just enough life to survive one of the enemy's hits coming up in this section, the explodey bomb guys, because we're going back to the start of the game now, if you remember this area. This explodey bomb guy can hit you sometimes. And it's not cool to lose a run to that. What's cool about this is you actually traverse this particular set of rooms 3 different times in the run, and each time you have different movement abilities. So the first time we came through here, we didn't have anything. We had our katana. And now we have Kunai and our katana. And later on we'll have even more stuff. And now we can open that gate right there that we couldn't open before. That bat does a lot of damage if it hits you. It's very... you wouldn't expect it, really, to do so much damage, but it does. Now we destroy that rock, and we're in Robopolis. Robopolis is just pretty much all about clean movement. We're going to try and swing up. There, we can't skip that cutscene, but a reverse boost there and another reverse boost there. And that's a really good place to do the reverse boosts. Oh, also, while you can do Shuriken Jumps, you can do rocket jumps as well. You can pogo off the rocket if you shoot it down. And this is another big sequence break in the game. So the last 2 gaps that we cleared, we were not supposed to be able to clear yet. Or, this is one of the 2. And using Shuriken Jumps, we can get all the way across here. You're supposed to have a different sub-weapon to be able to get across there. And there's Chief. And there's a chest that we thought was a chest, but instead we get captured. You see our mugshot there. And they take away all of our stuff. So we talk to this toilet, and a guy pops out and gives us dash, which is very, very good movement ability. It kind of teleports you. So you can definitely consider yourself having iframes when you do it. It's a super short cooldown as well, so you're going to see us dashing a lot. And now we get through this prison. For some reason that chest had a bunch of money in it, which I don't get, but it also has all of our stuff that got taken away before. So we have our shurikens, rockets, and our kunai back. And now we're just going to escape jail as quickly as we can. So yeah, it's faster if you can get like perfect kunai on the ceiling. It's faster than dashing, but not by much, so usually we'll just dash to be safe. It is way easier to dash through a room than kunai perfectly. And all these rooms might look familiar because we've actually already been in them as well. The city is a lot darker now and like more sinister. It's raining and stuff, there's a storm in the background, and there's a bunch of cops everywhere chasing us now. Like in this room right here, this floating guy was not there before. But now this gap is going to be way, way easier to clear. Just dash across it. Let me swing up. We're going to go back to that chest where we got captured at before. And it's going to put us directly in the Popo fight. And this is an auto-scroller as well, so we're just focused on not touching the road because that damages us, as you just saw. We're getting shot by the enemies. Or most importantly, not actually touching the big Popo bot because it will just kill us. And there we go. That's the escape sequence. We are now at the SSD Flotanic. One of our homies picked us up in a car and brought us here. And this is the area where we're going to pick up the air core, which we need this for something later on in the game, a story element. But we can't kunai onto any of these metal ceilings here, so we're just going to be mostly dashing. And we can do it onto this checkered ceiling, but we're going to save here, because we're going to use this particular save point to save quit multiple times. And this is a pretty cool skip here. We shuriken this guy, and then we pogo him, and then pogo some shurikens and double jump, and we get up to this lever, which skips going all the way around to get it. It's probably like a 20-second time save or something like that. It's nice. And now we're going to have just multiple other levers we have to get as we go through this area. These fans just draft you in the way that they push, in the way that they're blowing air. I don't know. I can't talk. So I'm going to use those as much as we can. Our health doesn't really matter in this part, since we save quit so much. Or we save quit right after this lever, which you can see it's right above the save point. So we can avoid all that backtracking. Our health does matter in the section coming up, since we end up hitting 3 levers in a row without save quitting. So ideally we don't take too much damage. Just shoot a rocket here and it kills all 3 of these enemies. A rocket is pretty disgusting for killing enemies. These dudes take 5 katana hits normally, but only 1 rocket. If you lure them over to that, we can kill all 3 at once. And that's that room. This next room is really scary. It's pretty easy to die. If you fall down, you're just dead. Which is not good in a speedrun. So here we skip going around in this room as well using Shuriken Jumps. And we're already at this lever. And now the final lever coming up. This is the one furthest from the save point, basically, so that's why we do this one last. And here we definitely do not do it intended. So we get up to here, then we pogo up to these spikes, and we wait for our shurikens to regenerate, and there we go. Now that we hit all 5 of the levers in this area, all 5 of the doors that are to our left will be open. Right here. And now we see the captain again, our good friend from the airship before. And he's just as afraid of us as before. And this time he's actually in the dirt here. We crash in the same area in the desert again. And we're gonna go to the left again. But this time we have a dash. Skip that cutscene real quick, and this whole area is just about optimizing movement. There's a lot of different ways you could do these rooms. And now this is the 3rd time that we're going to be going through this specific set of rooms. And this time we have dash, so it should theoretically be faster. Depending on how well you actually execute it. And now we're back in the haunted factory as well. We were here before, but now we're gonna go to the right so we can open this door. This crusher has like a 1% chance to drop really early and just kill you. Luckily that didn't happen there. It has killed a PB pace run before and it was very upsetting. It was the first time I even learned that it could happen. We don't know why, but life goes on. And we are heading to the last sub-weapon now, which was supposed to be the second sub-weapon, and if you remember those two huge gaps that we cleared that were sequence breaks we weren't supposed to clear, because we were able to do that, it let us get dash before we did this area. That's the main reason that we go and do that. And this area specifically is pretty obnoxious. We're on a very good cycle here, so we can dash through these saw blades and try and avoid as much damage as possible before we get to the end, since there's one room where we could die at the end that we don't want to. It's okay to damage tank a bit, since we're going to have to save quit for health anyway. This is a great amount of health to have. It gives us some safety here in this next room, in case we do get blown up on, but... Okay, now we have the SMGs. This is the last sub-weapon. We're going to save quit here to refill our health, though, as we do not want to die to this boss coming up, and we want as much health as possible for the boss and for the segment after. So the SMGs are just the machine gun. They're awesome. They're the only thing that can hurt this boss as well. We can't katana or use a rocket on it. So this is Pharaoh, and Pharaoh has, I think, 4 phases where you do damage, and then it drops some goofy guys on you. Little goopers. And we try not to get hit by the goopers. The rocket is really good for clearing them out. And now in the last 2 phases, Pharaoh busts out some guns of his own, and the cool strat you can actually do in this fight is you can reflect the bullets back at the boss by slashing them. And you can do that with other enemies too, I didn't mention that yet, but specifically like the bullets that come out of our machine gun, you can reflect them back at the boss. And that kills the boss so quickly if you do it right. The boss almost instantly dies on those phases if you do it, because you're shooting like 10 bullets back at a time. So here we need to pick up the money, because we need 549 before the end of the game. And we have enough now, so... And that cutscene that I skipped over unlocks... Beating the boss gets rid of all the goop that's on a door that we need to be open. So, now it is open. I'm being a little safe here with my health, since it's very easy to die in this place. Wait for this bomb dude to appear, because that enemy will just do basically all of your health if it explodes. And now we're backtracking to get to that door that opened. Since we're a little slow on the cycle here, we're just waiting for that crusher, since you can definitely beat it, but it is not worth it if you slow down a little bit and you just die, because you lose like a minute. And now we have the airship core, so we can power the mech, and we can get into this room, so now we fly to Mars. As you can see the background, it's all spacey. And we're going to go over to this router, and we're going to do this first upgrade, which is actually a trick from the antagonist of the game, but while this is all glitching out, we buy our other upgrade too, which is the missile launcher. And the missile launcher is just amazing. You can like destroy everything with it, and it trivializes the final boss, which is great, because in normal any percent, the final boss is one of the hardest parts of the run. And you can see this kind of glitchy thing that appears. We talked to this nice lady, but she's actually not nice at all. And kind of summons his enemies to fight us. And you can see that's what the actual enemy looks like. So after each of these fade outs, we're gonna save quit because it saves time and refills our HP. It's like win-win. So this is now the gauntlet area. This is called the Nightmare. And it is a nightmare in the run and is actually called that in the game too. But it's waves of enemies and they're obnoxious. You can die really quickly if you're not careful. That's the first one down. We save quit here. Now the next wave. It gets progressively more difficult than you can imagine. But this is the missile launcher. As you can see, we could only shoot one rocket before, but if you hold the button, you can charge up and shoot. I think it's either 5 or 6 rockets when you release it, which is a lot more rockets. And the rockets have ridiculously huge AoE when they blow up. We fight pretty much every enemy we've seen throughout the game so far. Now we're going to go up. The exploding enemy is going to spawn down there. Chasing us anyway. There, we got him. That's one of the most run-ending enemies, basically. If you're not aware that he's there, he'll blow up on you and do like half your life, and then you'll panic, and then I'll do it again, and that'll be it. And that's the third one down. 2 more to go. These ghosts are pretty obnoxious. If you don't aggro them right away, they'll fly to the bottom of the screen, and they have a lot of iframes. You have to wait until they allow themselves to be hit, essentially. And we hit that corner twice with our rockets. It's pretty slow. No worries though. So now this is the final area of the nightmare, and this one is by far the longest and the most difficult one. And these enemies right here are just so obnoxious. You can't really hit them that well when there's 3 rockets. You can reflect the rockets back at them, which is the intended way to kill them. Oh, that guy's still alive. Missiles don't do any damage to the Zen mode. Just play that one a little safe and just reflect it all. We want to destroy that one with our sword so we can get a little bit of health back, just to be safe. Now the game gives you a little break here with 3 really easy enemies that are just for health. This is the final wave of this area, so you want to kill this guy first, because those rockets do a lot of damage. And there we go. As soon as that happens, essentially a PB is like secured, as the final boss is coming up right after this, and missile launcher kind of trivializes the final boss. So if you slash the boss right away here, which we did, you actually skip a phase completely. The way the phases of the boss work, each time the boss does an attack here, there's a damage threshold you have to hit. It starts at 50, so if we do 50 damage, which is like 2 missiles, the boss will move on to the next phase. Each phase is just an attack. So it'll be the laser, and then it'll throw the scythe, and then it'll do a swoopy scythe attack. As long as you do enough damage during each of these attacks, you'll go as fast as you can on the boss, essentially. It's more about just doing enough damage when you have a missile launcher. It's not nearly as difficult as normal 80%. You have to actually slash the boss a bunch. If the boss doesn't do 2 of the same attack in a row, that means you're going fast. And now this is the final attack of this phase. Throws the scythe into the ground, you actually pick it up, which is awesome. And now some lava starts squirting out of the ground. And just like the other phases, the damage is capped here. So it doesn't matter how fast I slash, as long as I do enough damage. It's fun to mash though. So the lava is faster each phase, and there are more lava pillars. So there are 5 and then 10 and then 15 in this phase. And as you can probably guess, there are 20 in this one. And that's Kunai, any percent NMG. Run is extremely fun, as well as the game casually if you're interested in it. There's just a lot of movement tech, and it will require a lot of heavy optimization to actually get a perfect time, which I love. I definitely recommend this to anyone who likes games of this sort. I was trying to grind a 45 out for like a couple weeks, finally got it, and yeah, this is record as it stands now. I definitely plan on grinding it more. I want at least a 44 at some point, because it's totally possible. I just have to get good.